It says I'm live. Apparently, I'm live. Apparently, I've been doing that for at least 6 seconds. Um, Welcome to my first YouTube live on an actual laptop. Yay! I've upgraded from the trusty iPhone to now a dedicated laptop. So I think I'll be able to read comments a little easier. I'm now going to be able to scroll through. I haven't had time to do the deep dive on all of my great DMs and stuff that I've gotten from people, but I will as soon as I get a minute. I don't know if anybody's going to be jumping in on today's hour-long rambling because this is the first time that I'm doing this on the Lulubelle Toys YouTube channel. So I'm going to be doing everything from now on here. I'm actually not linking to anything because I don't know how to link. We're still, as I've been doing these talks and stuff, I do keep harkening back to the fact that we're still learning as we go. And so, hey man, we're keeping the wheels on the road. But that's fine. I'm gonna try to do at least 1 hour all week. I did my first hour rambling on the other YouTube account, Luke Rook, but I'm not going to be using that YouTube account anymore. I'm going to be doing everything here. Lulubelle Toys, all Lulubelle Toys, all the time. I think it makes a little bit more sense. Plus, also, there's some really great old videos on this channel. So if you haven't seen them, subscribe, go back, look at some of the old videos that we've posted. I think I was looking a little bit through the back end of this stuff on the laptop, and I was like, whoa, this is a lot of stuff. But at one point, it showed me that I had opened this account in 2010. I started the business. It started in 2005. Lulubelle Toys started in 2005. And I don't think things kind of like the middle of 2005. I don't think I got online until 2006, whatever. But we started from there. Lulubelle Toys was just one little shop on the corner of 6th and 6th in Tucson, Arizona. I painted it bright lime green, hot pink. I get people coming in all the time, like, "What the hell is this place? Is this a sex shop? What are you selling in here? What are these weird things?" I was horrible at it, horrible at being a store owner. At the time, I was also a horrible drunk as well. Um, and so I had started Lulubelle Toys because uh, I had as part of like an annuity. I'm not actually quite entirely sure, but when my mom passed and there was like a lawsuit against the hospital when I turned, I forget how old I was, I think 26 or something, I would get a small lump sum settlement. And at that time, I'd been living in Taiwan, I'd been bopping around, I'd been doing all kinds of stuff. And, when you're in your early 20s and if you haven't gotten your shit figured out, you're a hard drinker, you're a party dude. I was definitely a party dude in Tucson, where I was, born and raised. But at the time, I knew I had this sort of like foresight, knowing that as a crazy, horrible, drunk, wastoid dirtbag, if I didn't have a goal or a plan for this money, it was just going to get, I was just going to drink it away. I was just gonna like piss it away, buying people drinks at the bar, doing whatever dumb shit I was doing. And it seemed like kind of a tragedy, or it seemed like what an unfortunate way to sort of remember the passing of my mom is just like enabling, giving me a couple more years of being a dirtbag, drunk reprobate. So I thought, okay, well, I'm gonna at least put this money towards something, do something with it. I'll put it towards a business. I've always had sort of like an entrepreneurial mind. Shout out to Project More alumni. Shout out to Youth Storefront. I had a great teacher, um, Tom, everybody goes by their first names or Project More. It was casual like that, you know. And Tom Anderson, a great, amazing teacher, taught us all about entrepreneurial skills, taught us about philosophy, taught us about all other stuff. And I knew that, well, even if it doesn't succeed, it's better than just sitting around, sitting on your butt, drinking it away anyway. So at least you gave it the college try. But I've never been great at like really following through with a lot of stuff. My apologies to anyone and everyone that is affected. But I knew, hey, I have interests. There's stuff that I could do. What does Tucson not have, or what are things that seemed like it would be an interesting business for me? Um, and maybe people would come along, maybe there would be a fan base for it, maybe it would provide some service to the greater Tucson community of which I was a part of. So, I just kind of sat down and thought about what sort of businesses would I like. And in the end, I was looking around and I just realized I was surrounded by toys. I had just had all these sort of weird little monstery ephemera things around me. I liked toys. It was 2005. Urban Vinyl was starting to pop up. Kid Robot was coming out. There was a carryover from when I lived in Taiwan in 98, 99, and seeing that first wave of stuff from 96, Michael Lau and the stuff coming out of Hong Kong. And then, also learning about later on with Bounty Hunter, then learning about other companies in Japan. So it was all kind of coming around in '05. Started going to San Diego Comic Con, linked up with Dove from DKE Toys, amazing guy, and really just kind of hit the ground running with the kind of first wave of people. Roto Fuji. Um, there was, God, who was there in the beginning? I'm trying to remember. I mean, of course, Kid Robot. There was Critter Box. There was, yeah, I don't know, man. It's I'm going in the Wayback Machine, but anyway, I knew that there was, there was markets, there were stores that were popping up. I was seeing how the markets were reacting to it at the conventions, online, in magazines, and stuff like that. And so, with that first, that lump sum annuity, I rented the place on 6 and 6 in Tucson. Um, and I put in some orders. I ordered stuff from Kid Robot. I think I got their, first, I just missed out on their first wave of Dunny, but I was able to get in. They still had a lot of Dunny series too. And I think I had ordered like a few different times. I was ordering from Strange Co., from Critter Box, from Ning Yoshi. The Japan stuff in the very beginning was really hard to source, really hard to figure out. So, I just kind of stuck with kind of like the easier things. And I wasn't even really online. I just wanted to bring all this kind of weird stuff to Tucson. I thought Tucson was a perfectly great place, and I wanted to kind of share in all this weird stuff with my fellow Tucsonians. I think there was a bunch of there's a bunch of issues that came along with it. I mean, obviously, I had no idea what I was doing, but I had that pluck can do spirit, and money just burning a hole in my pocket, and so it felt like I was doing something, um, and it was I mean it was a pretty like sobering experience to be like, okay, you're gonna put all this work into place, you're gonna paint it weird, you're gonna fill it with weird stuff. And then if you build it, they will come. And like people didn't really come, or when they did come in, they were like, what is this? This is weird. How much is this? What people buy this stuff? Like I was constantly fielding all of these questions like, well, it's called urban vinyl, or it's called sofubi, or it's called, and just talking to these people about all this stuff. And they were just like, okay. I would get people every now and again that would come and be like, oh, fuck yes, dude, there's a place in Tucson. Like, oh my God, thank you. Um, but for the most part, it was just sort of like weirdo stuff. But I kept it going. I had a little bit still left from the annuity, so I had investment stock, but then I was still had some money remaining to kind of carry me through. There were in the beginning, actually, there were steady sales, but all from word of mouth and just friends of friends and um, Christmases, Christmas, yeah, just Christmas. Um, and so we kind of plugged along. Then I moved to another location, a little more in more of a arts district area, thinking that if I was around more high end stuff, that would help ease kind of people going, "What's the price tag?" While still being downtown, still being in a kind of a funky enough area. Um, at that Around that time, also my partner Amy came on. She's been the rock that this little dinghy has been anchored to for all these years. So anybody that's ordered anything from Lulu Bell Toys and had it show up on time, or had it show up packed right, or had it showed up with a nice thank you note, big shout out to Lulu Amy for holding down all of the infrastructure, because without it, man, I'm just like trying to wrestle a loose net of jellyfish. Good luck with that. So yeah, that's I guess a brief little update of early, or a brief little rundown of early Lulubelle. It moved to a second location, and then Amy moved up to. We've moved now to our second location in Mesa. We've done tons of conventions, both in the U.S. and Japan, Thailand. We've been all over the world. So yeah, I guess that's a little rundown of the early inception. I wonder if that was super boring to hear. You never really know. Well, okay, so let me get into what I'm gonna start doing. I've been talking about this a little bit, and saying that we were gonna start sometime in around beginning of February. I've been kind of um, talking on this guy here and there. Himun Kun, all the little bells and whistles. I'm doing these little sculpting tutorials, and with the sculpting tutorials, I'm going to do a rough shape of Himun Kun, and then have that rough shape, be part of this kind of project, which is looking out, finding a sculptor who will be the sculptor to do the final sculpt that is for the metal molds that will then be pulled in vinyl. And my goal is that by doing this as a contest, by doing this as sort of a linear thing, that it'll help us all kind of see how a project goes from concept to translation, to wax, to metal molds, to vinyl, to packaging, paint, and then on to market. I think I speculate that that will be the most impactful way for me to kind of show everybody in as clear and concise of a manner of how you go from concept to market. And I think I'm going to be doing a lot more of these different types of contests, of these projects, of these different things that will help work as like a visual aid for people to see all these little different aspects of how to make a toy. Um, so as I go through and as you follow me, these kind of long ramblings, it's helping me kind of say it out loud, hear it out loud, and make it a bit more solid, um, and work through any ideas. So I would love to get people's feedback on what they think about a contest. How would you feel about Himun Kun contest? Uh, if you're not a sculptor, if you're an illustrator, maybe you'd like to be a part of a contest and be like, well, I'd like to throw my hat in on doing the box art illustration, or Maybe you're into making packaging and you're like, well, I'd like to throw my hat in on being the packaging design. Um, I'd love to really do a pretty broad contest to reach out to as many people out there in whatever medium it is that you're working in and really pull in as many different artistic sources so we can all kind of see, how that process goes through. Oh, I got my first comment that I can see in this way. Um, David Avery says, I love the idea. Looking forward to drawing it already. Cool. Right on. Shout outs to David Avery. Thank you. So I still need to, I've never done in this scope before. So what I really need to do is sit down and figure out kind of what's the parameters of this project. What does what would a Himun Kun contest look like? Um, so what? So what are we saying? Himun Kun contest. Um, AKA one half box what? Yes. Um, oh, this chat thing works. Looks like. I mean, I'm reading it. If you're writing it, I'm seeing it. Hopefully that's going to be the best way that we get this kind of like chop it up dialogue back and forth is if you hear me ranting on anything, jump in, give me your insight. I'm trying to just kind of like in the quickest, easiest ways, get as much feedback as I can. Um, Gold Moon Cadet says, Spaceman Yells here, right on. I'd love to do some Himun Kun screen printing, maybe headers. Fuck yes, dude. That's what I love to hear. I love it when plans come together. I'd love to do screen printed headers. I'd love to do any screen printed elements. And I think what might be really cool as we see as this project goes through all the different hands, goes through everybody's different fingerprint and thumbprint, and kind of like just sort of curating it enough to fit everything in so it doesn't look like the kitchen sink, but it works cohesively. I think it's going to be really cool to see everybody's little influence on this product. So that's my 2 cents. So Himunkun contest. I'm gonna say reach out to sculptors, illustrators, printers, parenthetically screen. Oh, my spelling is horrible. Um, let's see what else. I'd love to find like people like to do like animation stuff, do like gifs, do weird shit as well to just really kind of like bombard people, really inundate them with this sort of character or mascot, Himun-kun, which is an AI robot, but really sort of represents the everyday man or any man. My first idea of the name for Himun-kun was Eburiman, which would be the way in Japanese you would say every man. So the idea is that AI is really just going to be just integrated into just all of us. We're all adaptive. We all just adapt. Or are we AI ourselves? Whoa, trip out on that. Um, Oh, Bert says, "What's the N stand for?" Oh yeah, huh? Fuck. I wrote him down on a different piece of paper. I gotta find that piece of paper to attach to here because I got so many great N. I got so many great N words for it. Oh shit! Wait. So since I'm on my laptop, maybe I can use my phone now to look up. Oh yeah, that's perfect. I can look up on Instagram, and then I can look up. Oh yeah, okay, guys. Okay, everyone. All right, let's pick the let's figure out the N. Let's figure out the N for Himunkun. Oh, ghosting. Hey, ghost. You. Okay, so we've got N is for nuancer. I like this. I like that. Um, N is for neurotropism, which is one of my top three. I definitely like neurotropism. Uh, it means I had to look it up. It's about like your skull grow, the bones in your skull growing, and I don't know. Maybe I have to look it up another time. Look it up once more. Neurotropism. So um, that would be human identity mecha unit neurotropism neurotropism point one. So it's like human identity mecha unit. The skull is still growing, means things are still growing and moving. Negative, nudie, nebula, nomad, ninja, necromancer. I told them that was also in my top three. Necromancer. So we got two necros. Necromancer. Neurosis. Fuck yeah, dude. I love Neurosis. Great band. Negative, neighbor, nihilist, nobleman, nerd, nug. Those are so many great ends. I liked nihilist. I thought that ending on nihilist was really good. So human, what? Human identity mecha unit nihilist. I'll put nihilist just with a question mark. Nihilist question mark. And then this was a good one. Somebody wrote ningen. Ningen means person in Japanese. So it would be human identity mecha unit ningen, mecha unit person, which I really liked. But then I was kind of wondering, like, does that translate people who speak Japanese or people that speak English? Like, is it a little bit just too weird for people to be like, what? Huh? Like, so I really like Ningen. I wanted to use Ningen. That was my very first original idea. And then I was just kind of like, maybe is there something better? Um, Gold Moon Cadet says Neurobot. I like that. I do like Neurobot. I like, ending in a robotic or ending in a sort of like a descriptive thing. Somebody wrote Ned. Human identity mecha unit Ned. That was awesome. Nimrod, which is got to be, I love Nimrod so much because, we all need a little self deprecation in our identifying with robots. And so maybe we're just like, that's us putting our little, yeah, you Nimrod, we're the smart ones around here, dummy robot. And so it, it goes deep. I love it. Um, Oh, these ones are good. Ne'er do well, nanobot. So there we go. Neutron, nasty. Um, human, human identity mecha unit, ne'er do well. He does look a little bit youngish. It's got kind of like a little kid sort of body or form. So maybe it is a little bit of a Dennis the Menace, a bit of a bad kid. So I like ne'er do well, but we want to give him the most. We want to give Moon Kun the best bang for his buck. So I really like ne'er do well, but that's also my own sort of mischievous side. Noid, Noodler, Negatron, Noob. I do like Noodler. Noodler. Human identity mecha unit. Noodler. Noodly, 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 noodly. That means he's like, maybe he just like can jam out. He can play some sweet, tasty licks. Get all like noodly, 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 noodly. Annihilator. Ooh, that's a great one. And then I got one that was human identity mecha, and they did unit, ulterior, ultra, urban, native. So they were thinking like, oh, maybe not unit. Why don't you try looking at changing up the U as well? Human identity mecha ultra native. That's cool. Nincompoop, again, you gotta love the self-deprecators. Again, I do love the idea of like making AI and then giving it its name, and the acronym part of it is just like, you big dummy. uh, it's really funny. Um, Number, and each run is a different human model number, which I have incorporated that. So his full name will be Human Coon, no, Human .1 Coon, Human .2 Coon, Human .3 Coon. So each variation will have its own numbering identity that will be associated with that version. And I might do a number on the chest, or maybe figure out some kind of numbering system for that, so that people can know, okay, that was 1, that was 2, that was 3. So I am adapting that. Thank you. Sexual yokai is right. He said Neo, new, next. Human identity mecha unit next, or nextal, so then it's the Japanese, like, all right, this is what comes after humans. This is what we become. We're the next thing. So I'm actually putting next down because I really do love next. Although Neo is really good too. Which I think goes in line. What do we got? Bert says numbnuts. Nice. I just need to make like the self-deprecating kaiju figure, and it'll just be all of the N words. I don't mean like that. Neutralizer. He could come with. He does have the little antenna thing on his head, so that antenna thing could be the neutralizer. So okay, so let's see. We've got it down to neurotropish, necromancer, nihilist, next, or neo. Do any of those jump out at anyone? Let me know in the comments. Slide in my DMs. Let's see what people say. Let's see if any one of them bubbles up to the top. Any one of them grabs you guys by the short and curlies. As my dad used to like to used to say. Okay, very good. So, Communication contest. We'll work on our end. We'll work on who we're reaching out to: sculptors, illustrators, printers. If there's stuff I'm leaving out, we could say, what? Animators. Let's see. Bert says, I'd go with next. It's easier for non-English speakers. I think so too. I am feeling a little bit more, if I were, if I had to put the rubber to the road, I feel like next or Neo, or I think makes sense both in English and in Japanese. And in that way, it really is a bit more of a unifier, at least for people. Like, they don't have to kind of scratch their brain going neurotropish, like, I don't know, some weird word. So I do like next, or nextal, or neo. So we're gonna do Himun-kun is probably gonna stand, I think, when everything's said and done. What is that? That's probably about like around 7 or 8 inches. So it'll probably be somewhere in there. The arms will move, the legs will move, everything will move and kind of bend in. And then my idea is that standard Himun-kun, of which we'll probably do a whole bunch of them, will make a larger mecha suit that Himun-kun can then fit into the larger giant mecha robot thing. That's like and then that'll open up, and then you put your Hemun Kun inside of that and close that up and form like Voltron. That's sort of that's a long-term thing. When you start getting into those really big figures, those really big molds, your prices just go, you're normally working in the thousands and stuff. Now you're working in the, closer to the tens thousands, and you're just like, ooh, ooh. The big stuff is just really complicated. The molds are heavy. It becomes a space issue. People, they can't, there's a limit to how many they can have in their house. Um, it's restrictive because of the cost, the price cost. It's got to be so high because of all of your upfront investment costs. But then also, your shipping is way up there. So doing all that really big stuff, while it's interesting to kind of challenge you and to see how it is, it just does not do well as far as overall sales. It's not going to be one of your greater performers, but it would be really cool as a project to show everybody the whole evolution, soup to nuts of here's the concept, here's the character, here's how it evolves into a really big giant project, here how it scales down into little finger puppets or little module cars, or here's how you work within this character concept and really flesh it out in all these different directions, which I think is what a lot of companies miss out on. I mean, I myself do. I definitely don't do, I don't flesh out any of the character stuff that I do, because I am always just eating, my time is always eaten up with so much other stuff. So it would be really great to show everybody through this project how those characters get, moved around and how much time it eats up, really, to flesh out all of that stuff. But I think if we sort of collectively work, through all of this stuff, I think we might be able to make something cool. So I'm gonna add in the people that we reach out to in the contest. Also, character designers. Let's see. Now my pen doesn't want to work. I was futzing around with pen. Does green work? No. Why doesn't this pen work? What's wrong with you? Um, Character designers. And I don't know, maybe storyboarders or something like that, but character designers, so people who can, really flesh out, um, what's the story, what's the origin story, what's the, how do we put this figure, how do we put this character in context with everything else? And as you build up that character, as you build those stories, as you build in all those visual kind of little, signposts in the road, that's the viewer, the collector, the fan, the people just following just to see how it's made. You're kind of seeing the evolution and the progression of where that goes. I think that'd be cool. Where it says your drawings look like there will be different masks. That would be super easy. Yep. It would be super easy to change out masks. It would be really easy to change out accessories. It would be easy to do a lot of really, mix and match stuff and use that base to then build other characters from as well. And in that sense, it's really a lot like the He-Man model. It's a lot like the, Barbie model. Once you have sort of your base form figure, your base doll, and any little tweaks or changes that are inexpensive but can really change the entire look of that character, the entire look and feel, and build entirely whole different characters within that kind of universe, with a very low buy-in cost. Now you can really start changing up your that whole brand and look at it in a whole different way. It's a lot of the same. It's the exact same stuff as when they made GI Joes, when they made different things where it was like, okay, well, let's just take this form, let's just not paint it. Now it's this guy. Let's take this form, give it this head. Now it's that guy. But as a producer, when you're producing your own figure, it is really great to be conscious, to be mindful of, am I painting myself in a corner with this? Is there room for me to kind of play around within what I've put my investment into now? Am I able to kind of put a big chunk of an investment in now and then build it out as I go? A perfect textbook perfect example of that is Mori-san from Realhead. A great company. If you guys don't follow Realhead, he's got an Instagram account. I believe it's just RealXHead. And he's a perfect example of a company that, invested in their base form molds and then just evolves by changing heads, by changing accessories, by doing different things. And he has a whole line of figures that he does that with. But what that does is it allows, as a company, to have a ton of different variations in what they're doing. It allows, hold on, my feet are getting cold. I moved the heater away and now I moved it too far away. So I gotta heat up my tootsies. It's cold in the studio. But it's allowed him to do a ton of different variations within his built up universe. And I think that variation has really carried through and solidified uh, this for the success that he's had all of these years. Uh, he's had sort of dips and wanes and stuff over the years, but the whole community has. And really, if you try to go out and buy one of his toys he does it every Sunday. For the most part, he does every Sunday. And if you go out there at the right time and you do the little stick system and you win the stick system, you win the lottery, you can get a figure. It's become a little bit difficult to get because of supply and demand. His stuff is selling for more in the secondary market. He's aware of that. He's trying to put in systems that are simple enough for him to manage the demand of what his supply is. Also, he has, because of his location, he has restrictions. There's noise restrictions. It's kind of a residential area. So he has to keep it moving through. He has to keep people getting in and getting out. He's doing very decent sized run numbers and really elaborate paint stuff. He's doing really amazing paint work, really great character design stuff, and all very affordable. Granted, it is difficult to get it in that to win the lottery and to get the figure, but not always. Um, a lot of times I get asked from people, well, why doesn't he just up his numbers? If he knows that there is that much supply, or if he knows that there is that much demand, why doesn't he just increase his supply? And as a company, that's a very great question you need to ask yourself. And you need to learn why you would or why you wouldn't. Because a lot of times where people really end up fucking themselves is when they they expect that wave to always be like that. They expect their business to always work in that way. And so a lot of times people have this sort of upward linear idea towards business, which is, if business is ramping up, you got to ramp up and you got to keep doing all this stuff. And that's a great way to get left holding the bag, to get burned on a bunch of stuff, or to get burned on 20 different little things that all collectively add up to what is a very significant burden on your company, on your brand. So there is a lot of times it's hard for people to not really understand that sometimes more just is not better. Uh, and Maury has worked very hard to be mindful of his core fan base, to be mindful of the people who are coming out there slugging it out, who are mindful of where they are and respectful, and he loves it. He's a geeked out toy nerd too. He wants to get this stuff to all the geeked out toy nerds. But it's there's a threshold because of what he's able to put out. Um, he's one guy, and that guy wears so many hats. He really oversees so much stuff, everything that goes through. I mean, I've seen him go through and just turn all the arms on something, turn all the head on something. Every time he puts it in a bag, it gets a one little last check. He looks it over, he blows up any dust. It goes in a bag. I mean, it's that level of detail, which I think is what has really carried him through for all of these years. Because whether it's hard to get, whether it's easy to get, when you get it, it's going to look cool. It's going to turn. It's going to stand. It's just going to be a rock solid toy on your shelf in your collection. You're going to be stoked to have it, and especially as you build up your collection through him as a brand, and you get a better sense of his design, his ideas, his concepts, and you're like, God damn, this is a clever motherfucker over here. This guy's doing some really cool shit, really interesting stuff. So, I definitely look to him as one of my senpai, one of my teachers. I don't actually, I don't go and vacuum their floors, or I don't uh, mop up or anything like that. But I do look at a handful of artists as teachers. Uh, I think it's great. It's great for all of us to look within our community, to look who's doing it and who's doing it well, and to emulate those good qualities. Um, all too often, I see people when people look towards others and take that information from them, and when it's just like, oh, that's a cool toy, it's got two heads, it's $500. All right, I'm gonna make a two-headed $500 dolly. Won't that be cool? And I've just seen time and time again how fruitless it is, how dangerous it is, how companies will come and go because they're just always chasing whatever is that sort of cool current thing. And if you're always, I made this analogy on my last YouTube video. If you are always trying to grab that fish out of the water, and you're grabbing that reflection at the surface of the water, that fish is gone, man. Although I don't condone grabbing any fish out of any water unless the fish is swimming over a waterfall and you're like, oh no, save the fish. And then you grab the fish. In that case, you want to look at where the fish is going to be going and you want to reach in that way. But don't go just grabbing fish out of the water. So, um, anyway, yeah, I think people need to look at what are the good qualities, what are the things that they like within brands, what are the parts that brands do that they enjoy, that they want to emulate. And if you are looking towards these teachers, if you are looking towards these people, also you want to do some self check and go, am I riding this dick way too hard? Am I biting this guy just like way too deep, You may or may not be able to see that. You may be so deep in that you don't even realize just how influenced you are by these people that you like and respect. And in that case, in those instances, that's where I think it's great to post stuff on social media, to reach out if there's toy forums, or post stuff on Facebook, just get stuff up and out and see what kind of feedback you're getting. And if you start noticing a lot of people are like, damn, this guy looks a lot like that other guy, that's a pretty good indicator that they're thinking what you might be thinking. Um, sorry. I gotta figure out something to do about all this. I start to feel mucusy around the 30-40 minute mark. I gotta start like gargling with Epsom salt or something, or coconut oil 20 minutes before I start. I gotta get this all good and lubricated. Okay. Um, that covers about that. Although, hey, this is a really great spitball. Is that through Himun Kun, I would love to then reach out to Mori and say, hey, Mori, do you want to design a mask for Himun Kun? Would you like to do a really simple little startup project that would then have your brand look and identity? And then for people who I work with, uh, they can paint it, or they can paint a sample. I can paint them here, or send them out to paint factories. And then in that way, it really is a real true collaborative project, because I think when you're actually sculpting stuff specifically to go on that figure, to go as a part of that whole thing. I just realized my angle is missing out on all these great hand gestures I'm making. I got to learn to frame it up better or something. But yeah, if you are doing a collab project and you're actually making, that other side is making specifically sculpted parts that are then going with the original figure. That's a through and through true and true collaboration. So I'm going to add that as a kind of a side note to uh, reach reach out to other artists about original sculpt face plate. This must be really interesting to listen to. Face plate and accessories. So I think by doing their a different artist their own original faceplate sculpt, and then also doing their original accessory things, it could really, really tie it in as a much more collaborative thing. A lot of ways, in a lot of ways, like what Dunny is doing now, whereas before the only way that you could collaborate was through paint. But now Kid Robot is working with a ton of people. They recognize how it works. They recognize it's just a part of cost to have new head sculpts, but they also recognize that those new head sculpts bring in different types of collectors, creates a variety, a variation that is interesting enough for people to geek out on them and want to collect them. Which, at the end of the day, we all got to make money. So you got to learn how to dress up. You got to learn how to put lipstick on whatever pig you've raised from a piglet. So yeah, definitely. I'm gonna reach out to different artists who want to join in. Maybe that might also be part of the contest. Maybe we'll have, uh, yeah, maybe we'll reach out to a much wider group of people to do the faceplate, to do accessories, to do little things like that. You know, maybe, man, what if Himun Kun was just worldwide and there was sculpts from people all over the entire world, and Himun Kun could show where he's reached. I mean, how awesome would that be if there was sculpts coming from like Micronesia or from Fiji or from Gabon? Um, Fuck, man, that would be amazing. That would be so super cool. I would love that so much. Um, or maybe doing that in the very first wave of the contest, and through those different iterations of Himun Kun, then doing okay, all artists from Africa, all artists from Europe, all artists, break them up into these like sort of different, like, in the way that Kid Robot did their series of like all from Mexico or France or things like that. We could totally do something like that. Totally do something like that. I love really thinking about Himun Kun in that character way of like a Dunny or like a Bear Brick or like Lego. Let me think. What else? I mean, there's a ton. There's a ton. It's called a platform toy. Okay, so Himun Kun is a platform toy. Platform toy. But it's much more character. It's a bit more character driven. Um, we can sculpt them in ways so that people can change out parts or components to make different kinds. But okay, I'm gonna have to think this one. It's cool though because as I sort of sound it out, it does. That's how I end up sort of developing these rich and richer layers. So it is kind of cool to have this train of thought ramble to help me kind of like work it out. A lot of times when I'm talking about this stuff to people, they're like, their eyes just glaze over, and they're like, "What is he going off about?" Um, so cool. Okay, Himun Kun contest. The last thing, the last part, I'm at 50 minutes. The last thing I wanted to talk about is that I am going to start doing a Kickstarter like program. I haven't figured out what the word for it is yet or figured out how yet to talk about it, but I've just been, as I've been kind of bringing it up, I've been talking about it as a Kickstarter like project. But it's going to be a dedicated either website or just a dedicated page on Lulubelle Toys that will have all of these different tiers. Um, I just saw I got a message. Bert says, "You don't want to go platform because it might lose characters." Don't tell me what to do, Bert. You're not my dad. I don't have to listen to you. um, no, that is a good point. Yeah, it can. Um, yeah, character stuff can devolve way wildly out of hand as it goes through different artists and stuff. So it would just be kind of mindful. I mean, I know Bear Brick has a very strict rule of like you can't change Bear Brick until there's like these weird little exceptions. But like Bear Brick is like, no, it must be like this. Kubrick, they get weirder with. Dunny, they were like, no, it can only be like this. And then as they started changing and doing other stuff, they're doing more now. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it looks like there's people that have had a ton of success from platform toys, and there's a whole bunch that fizzled out. So I would love for He-Moon Kun to be one of the successful ones. Um, so just to go back to the Kickstarter thing, what I will start working down is just a real solid back of the napkin calculations of what I need to do to get a factory up and running, soup to nuts, and that's going to have all different kinds of buy-ins, all different ways in which people can join, all different ways in which people can support and help me generate the capital needed to get get a factory all up and running. There will be tiers for people who just want to send a couple bucks and like, hey man, good luck. There'll be a T-shirt, hey, I bought a T-shirt and all I got was a stupid T-shirt or whatever. I supported Lulubelle and all I got was a stupid T-shirt. Um, there will be toy incentive things. If you're a collector, it'll be joining like a year membership program, and it'll come with. You'll definitely get these 12 figures or 12 figures that are within this. You can mix and match. We'll put together just a bunch of really weird, interesting little programs for people. Put together programs for toy painters if you just want to order bulk of some figure and you want to get a good price. We'll do stuff like that. We will do. I talked about doing like a master class, so that would be like a higher tiered pay premium kind of site that would just have constant update videos as I'm going through building the factory out. And I think that would be a really invaluable lesson for anybody who then wanted to try building their own factory wherever they were. One of the issues is going to come down to sourcing your raw materials. I would like to look into the factories here to see if I can export the raw materials. I have looked into exporting the vinyl paint. I could look into with this Kickstarter program. I could look at folding in vinyl paint in with this project as well, so that we are investing in, a what, 100 gallons of 5 different colors, and then you would need 200 gallons of thinner, and that has to go by boat. It has to go in special canisters, special containers to carry that stuff. But that's something that I would like to do. Actually, that reminds me. What that reminds me? Yeah. So for that Kickstarter like program, one of the things that could be is um, a buy-in for people who are painters, and it would be, you would be guaranteed, these volumes of paints that are coming by boat. So that would also be, all this stuff is just going to be these things that you can buy now that are, if you buy it now, you're going to buy into this lower price thing. I don't know what the prices, how much the prices are going to change after we get everything figured out, after all the dust settles. But just to generate some capital now, I think it might be an interesting way for all of us to kind of come along the journey. I'm missing a couple questions here. It says the original Phobot says any tie-ins with regards to making toys for other people. And I would also love a practical idea way to get a hold of V-color paint and thinner. So there's two questions. Let's see. The first one, any tie-ins with regards to making toys for other people? I'm not quite sure what that means. It may have been something that I touched upon a few minutes ago that I've heard. I'm not quite sure what that regards to making toys for other people. As the factory is up and running, my goal is it will help streamline people who want to get stuff produced in Japan. We will, as part of that Kickstarter program, we'll be working in implementing an ordering a site where you can get a quote for whatever sculpt you have. You can get a quick, rough um, feedback on if it will work or if it won't work. I'll have a handful of tutorials that touch base on all of that stuff. So if it doesn't work, you'll get, a message back that says, please watch video 214 and video 189. I don't know what numbers, how I'm going to get, but hopefully that will help people then um, do any revisions or fixes to those sculpts. That doesn't bog me down. And the idea is just to streamline all this stuff. So my goal for this year is to make it much easier for people who are making toys here to better understand what type of sculpts they need, what stuff they should be doing, where they're fucking up, where they can make money, where they can lose money, what they should be mindful of. And so hopefully, as everybody becomes just a better informed client, then that means this line of production will just get that much quicker, because a lot of times where stuff gets eaten up is just trying to convince people that their thing won't work. Your other question, or your other thing was, I would also love a practical idea way to get a hold of V-color paint and thinner. Um, the factory I work with, I did talk to the V-color factory, and they were not interested in selling V-color other than those little dumb fucking glass containers of V-color. And I was like, the fuck? um, so I work with a different paint company, and I order their paints in giant 20-liter cans. I mean, the thinners I order in 20-liter cans. The paints I order, the highest I order is like 5-gallon cans for my primaries. I order 5-gallon cans of primary, white, black, silver, 2 golds, and clear, because those are the ones that get used. That's the main thing I use. They make some other colors that are just easier to have, like brown. I like using their brown instead of constantly making different shades of brown. Having just that base brown and then adding it, lightening it up or darkening it is very convenient. There's magenta, which is, I love magenta. There's hot pink. They do these really great neon colors. The neon colors are super expensive. There's different types of thinners that they also make. I can teach people different techniques, different paint techniques where you're using different different chemical composition paints that give it another layer. So ideally, we will be um, exporting paint along with toy production, along with manufacturing, along with this other stuff. We'll see, guys. I don't know. I speculate 2019 is going to be a bumpy ride for all of us. My guess is that it's going to be a bit of a rough patch. But I think once we get to 2020, people are going to be a bit more hopeful. People are also going to be a bit more agitated. I think we're going to see a lot more, just divisiveness. I speculate that it's not going to get better either way, but I do think people are still just kind of holding their shit until 2020. And then if it goes to big orange, who knows, man? Who knows what that's going to be like? But this year, we're already having issues with shipping from Asia to the US. Those costs are, they're all costs that we're all going to have to eat or pass on to the customer. And who knows, it with so many people not getting paid at their government jobs, I don't know how many people want to run out and buy some, dumb dopey dolly. That being said, Asia is absolutely killing it in the markets. As far as this, collectible stuff, Thailand is doing really great. There's a lot of people that are really into collecting this stuff. Um, there's stuff there are people buying stuff in Europe. So there's, there's definitely places where stuff is selling, but of course China is just dominating it. China is just killing it as far as like, buying original content or just buying just pure shopping power. So there are makers that are really focusing on China specifically. There are makers in China that have now either set up their own factory or are working with factories in China that allow them to pull weirder stuff, pull smaller numbers, work more within this kind of Japanese modality. Um, they are, oddly enough, they are charging the same high prices because of its rareness, because of its limitedness. And I just don't know how well that's going to carry that market and for how long. I've seen it happen before. You can kind of see these sort of trends that go through Asia where it's just boom, it's huge, and then it's not. And then something's huge, and then it's not. But that's all. That's a whole nother rant. So I will. I'm going to be working on this Kickstarter like project to help bring in stuff for all different kinds of people that want to help support this what is this? I don't even know what this is. This rambling. But ultimately, this community. What is our community? What is us? Who we are. This kind of like group of us who are working within ideas, working within concepts. We're taking these concepts to market. We're creating brands. We're creating identities. We're creating things for us. We're creating things for our communities, for the people around us. We're creating things for people we've never even met yet. And we're excited to meet. We're looking forward to meeting, to joining into the fold. We're looking forward to being a part of a positive, happy, healthy, inclusive, informative community, a group of weirdos that we've all bonded together over our love of dopey derpy monsters. And me, Giuseppe. Hey. Um he's sleeping, so we won't bother him. We won't wake him up. But let me know if you guys are hearing this, if you guys sound like this Kickstarter type thing is something that might be interested. Let me know in what ways I might be able to work with you, or in what things would you be most interested in buying into. Would you be interested into buying into having a toy made? Would you be interested into buying paint that you can regularly source? Would you be interested in filling out your collection with figures in all, blank one color, or all glow in the dark, or whatever? Um, I'd like to offer all of this different stuff that is within my wheelhouse, but I just haven't had the capital to really invest and get everything up and running. I've just got all of these hanging projects that are just like, well, that one needs 20,000. That's 20,000. This one over here is, this one's only 10K, but when it gets down to a lot of these projects and a lot of things getting all squirrely, a lot of times you're robbing Peter to pay Paul just to kind of keep the lights on, keep it afloat. So I think having things better dialed in, more streamlined, easier access for people is just going to make all of this stuff run that much smoother and make the overall experience better. It's going to make makers happier. It's going to make collectors happier. That dialogue will be, I think, theoretically, hopefully, you know, it'll be much easier. So that's my rant. The original Phobot says, in regards to my rant, that sounds great. The idea of supporting something bigger, getting paint, and potentially seeing some of my toys coming to soft vinyl sounds perfect. Um, David Avery says, all the above. And Goldmoon Cadet says, I agree with David. Cool guy emoji. Nice. Fuck yeah, guys. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I think if we, all just kind of like, circle the wagons and figure out the best way to get information out, get product out, get stuff moving, get people talking, get shoulders bumping, get all that wiggling going. Um, I think collectively we should be able to bring in those fans, bring in those new collectors, bring in all these people that are watching all this stuff. Um, it really bums me out when I hear people say, "Oh, this con was becoming stagnant," or "Oh, this con wasn't so great." And I often, as I've said before, I often say, if something fails, you got to look at how you caused it to fail. You got to find where you failed because clearly these conventions, there was a bunch of people there, right? And those bunch of people, they clearly had money in their pocket that they were just ready to throw it at somebody. And why didn't they throw money at you? Why didn't nobody make it rain on you? You know? And once you figure out all of those things that are in your control, that are within your wheelhouse, and you're checking that stuff off, and then ultimately you get down to like, oh, well, you know, I'm making money because that dickhead burned me, Well, now you're just like, fucking great. Now you're just like, well, fuck that guy, I'm not going to be around this, I'll make my own convention, my own sandbox, play in it. But I think learning all of these different little tricks or all these different little things that can affect your bottom line, that can affect whatever overhead you're carrying, that can help you have a better profit, help you work smoother, help you be more informed with what you can and can't do, what timelines are realistic and unrealistic. Um, what prices are average or not average. I mean, I would love to do video that just brought up like all of these different toys and it was like, here's a $500 dolly, here's a $20 dolly. What's the difference? Um, I don't want to, I don't want to be malicious. I don't want to do a bunch of these like angry videos where people are like, actually, this was better or that. I mean, look, whatever you do, you have your value in it. But I think having a very clear, unbiased, practical, pragmatic critique of the difference between a $500 dolly and a $20 dolly, I think would really behoove us all to kind of run through sort of those things. I mean, I'd be really interested to see it. I'd be really interested to see the difference between this thing and that thing. I want to do through these YouTube lives. I'd like to start having people in the studio, kicking it live in Studio G, Studio Grody. I like that. um, so I'd love to have people come in and chop it up. I was actually kicking around the idea of calling this chopping it up, YouTube chopping it up, have an opening sequence, get a soundtrack, get the whole screen going. and start doing these like, long form podcasts of people coming in and talking to them about their brand, the back and forth question and answering. Let people kind of ramble. I was actually supposed to have somebody tonight. Motherfucker backed out. So it's harder to get people. It's harder for me to trick people to come into my cave. Just stand outside the doorway and be like, "Come in, little weirdos." Seems to be a bit challenging. The original Phobot says, "Get Mr. UO in." I know you saw that. I know you've seen those recent Instagram pictures that have been floating around. um, those look so good. I'm super excited for that release. It is a unpainted, unpainted broken blood vessel marble. It's fucking amazing. It's so cool. They've taken little tiny threads, little red threads that are mixed into the vinyl. It cooked through it. It didn't burn the little threads. You just see these little, and they look like varicose veins on the flesh. It is sublime. It is amazing. It is just so fucking cool. So you guys, I'm gonna give you the insider scoop. Insider scoop. We got pretty good numbers of this figure. So I feel like if you're, when we post the time that it's at, I feel like if you're there at that time, chances are really good that you're going to be able to get it because the numbers they're solid. They are solid as a rock numbers. I'm stoked. I'm really looking forward to you guys seeing the marble, getting it in hand, checking it out. I am definitely going to ask him about that technique. And if I ever end up using that marble technique, that will forever be I'm going to ask him, can I use this technique? And what do you want me to call it? What do you want me to name it? Because, man, it's so fucking cool. Hopefully the UK time zone is on my side. What is it? Something spectacles, testicles, pocket watch, Oh, oh Lord, we don't ask for much, but may the UK time zone be fortuitous. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we should talk about breaking them up into different time zones. I know some companies do that where they'll do it this chunk in this time zone, this chunk in this time zone, this chunk in this time zone. There's enough numbers to go around where we could do kind of blocks of time zones. And if you missed out on one time zone, maybe you have a chance on another time zone. So let's write a note. Let's make sure to email Lulubelle Amy. Email Amy. Big shout out to Amy. Thank you, Amy, for hooking us all up with all this amazing shipping and stuff. Thank you for all that you do. Everyone, be nice to her. She's a hard worker. So, if for any chance you guys do miss out on this run, don't shoot the messenger, man. We're doing the best we can to get as much stuff out to as many people as we can. But email Amy about doing boogie release in time zone chunks. So we'll break it up into maybe, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 different time zones. Hopefully that works out for everybody. Let's see. Saw the post. Gold Moon Cadet says, saw the post of the fibers in the vinyl. Such a great texture. I'm psyched to see where the technique goes. Me too. I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. Original Phobot says, I don't get mad. Lulubelle have been responsible for so many of my cured toys, and I'm super grateful. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Tell that to all the grumpy people. Let them know it could work for you if you're just diligent. I mean, I will say to people, sign up to the Lulu Bell Toys newsletter. Amy is really great about sending that newsletter out that says, hey, this is up on the site, or hey, this is going up at this time, or getting that information out, letting people know what's going on. At the bottom of the newsletter, she'll include if there's any outdated projects or anything that people are waiting on, anything that they've ordered that they just haven't seen from or heard from, and it'll be like, you know, whatever projects are just sort of waiting in the queue, it'll be like, we just heard from him, they're shipping, or like they're stuck in customs, or like stuff like that. So it is a great source for getting stuff. I mean, I'm just really grateful for the all of the opportunities that we've gotten from working with Cure. There's just a lot of really great guys over here. We've worked with them long enough. We've developed a good enough sort of rapport that they like selling stuff through us. We try to make it as painless and as accommodating for everybody. Sometimes we have really limited numbers, and to try to be the most fair is to kind of throw it out into the waters and see who grabs it. It gets really hard and difficult for us to do these, like, backdoor sales, or just do keep things really private or secretive. um, it's no good. It doesn't work for us. It doesn't work for the brand. It does no promotion for the brand. It's how brands become stagnant. All of these insular brands that make the super, super cool, geek out, hard to get thing, and they just sell direct to a handful of guys at some super crazy geek out price. I feel like it just paints them in a corner. It's not good for the brand. It's not good for the collector. So we feel really fortunate in being able to work with Cure, and being able to bring the stuff out. I am definitely going to bring up with him at our next meeting about having him design a faceplate for a Himun-kun. It's definitely within his wheelhouse. If you guys follow Cure, if you follow Boogeyman, part of its gimmick is that it comes with all these different masks. So I'm going to have a mask from designed from him, accessories from him. Uh, we'll start doing some cool, weird stuff like that for sure. So cool, great. Um, I'm an hour and 17 minutes in. I shot past my hour. I gotta figure out how to remind myself to pee before I do these. I'm also drinking a bunch of tea, so end up having to pee. Um, I'll work on that. Mental note. I'll write myself a note. I'll put up a sign somewhere that says, "Did you pee?" Like, thanks, sign. I didn't pee yet. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, you guys, for all of your questions. Thanks for all of your input. Super, super helpful. Hopefully, we can do more of these. I'm going to do it again next week. Same time, same bat channel. Seems like around 3 to 4 is pretty good. What else? Yeah, you know the deal. Do all that good stuff. All right, guys. I hope everybody has a great day or a great winding down to your evening. Assalamu alaikum. Be well, everyone. Okay, and then now I gotta figure out in stream. Okay. Bye. Oh, let's see. I got the original photo thing. Thanks, Luke. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Cheers, everyone. Bye.